Back in my day, John Morant and Zion Williamson. I'm old enough to remember we're back in my day. Those two guys were guys that, man, there was a world of potential there. Everyone was so high on them. They're going to be the next big things, especially Zion. He's going to be the next LeBron, all these other things. 5 guys who tried to be the next LeBron. But anyway, it's so crazy that this isn't even that long ago. This is just a handful of years, or this isn't even that long ago, right? But what has happened since then, right? And so many different things have happened for both of these guys. Mostly bad. That has mostly pushed them down into a point where we don't really even talk all that much about them anymore. Like there was a time where these guys were in contention for being the faces of the league. I know Ja recently had a comment on that as well. But there's just been so much off the court drama, for Ja and even Zion. It's a different type of drama for Zion, but it's nonetheless been pretty much just drama for these guys and injuries for both of them, especially Zion on that front. And so we're at this point now where we're going to talk a little bit about what's kind of happening in Memphis. Not really all that much because we've covered that a lot recently. Because if you guys respond positively to a video, we're going to do more. So we got a few job videos out already, especially Drill Sergeant Trevor. He's like, I'm going to hammer that job video home. We're going to do another one and another. I'm like, anyway, so we're not going to talk a ton about them, but this will mostly be about the Pelicans. But anyway, hopefully you enjoy the video. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the Basketball Bulletin here, where Trevor Lane and I keep you guys informed with all the information around the NBA news, etc. as it comes out. You're not going to miss it. And thank you so much for hitting our like goal on the previous video. And in today's video, we're going to set another one. It's free. It's easy to do and helps tremendously as well. You like that rhyme? And the goal for today's video is going to be 300 as I launch over my desk. Okay. So really quick on the Pelicans, the Grizzlies. The game, $2 to get in on TickPicks. Now, you may be in the bleeds of all bleeds, but you know what? In all seriousness, this is obviously the culmination of several things. I think this is the game that Ja is suspended for, unless they played again, and I missed it last night. But this would be the game he's suspended for. I have to go check on the injury report for both of these teams. They're playing against Detroit. There could be some fun players you would see play in this game. But regardless, above all else, like I said, I could try to spin this in some big dramatic way. I'm not going to. But what I will say is, if you have time and if you can get in really cheap, whether it's $2 or $20, right? That can actually be a fun experience for your family. If you have kids, assuming they're old enough to remember it, this will be an experience they wouldn't forget. If you got the time, it could be cool, right? Regardless of who's playing or not, just to be in the environment and be around, family and friends or whatever at a venue, right? I know it's Monday? Yeah, it's Monday night, so maybe not the best time, but in all seriousness, there's that. But this has got to be one of the all-time lows for an NBA game entry. I'd have to go back and see, but $2 to get in the doors. Wow. Okay, so moving on from Ja, like I said, we're not going to talk a ton about Ja, but what we will talk about is the Pelicans. Pelicans are now 0-6 on the season. Oh, brother, Legion Hoops says. I love when the the admin of Legion Hoops is like, adding some flavor and personality to it. So this is really bad for a lot of reasons. Obviously, it's bad to be 0-6. I know, big shocker. But secondly, it's really bad because there was a lot of talk about during the offseason how they made that trade. Dumars came in and was very trigger happy, and he made a very, very interesting trade where he traded away a first overall pick in the upcoming draft. And he basically was asked about that around media day and said, hey, it was like we got a 2-for-1 with the rookie this year, all this stuff. And, if we're good, it doesn't really matter. Well, guess what? Y'all ain't good. Most people probably expected this. I would have expected them to, and there's still plenty of time. I guess I should say I still expect, unless they just go like 0-15 or something, which is like insane. I would still expect for them to maybe be somebody that's in the play-in range. I'm talking like 9-10 at the end of the day. That could be where they're at. But the problem with that is that that's still not good enough to, I think, justify trading that pick. And it's unfortunate because the Rook could wind up being a 15-point per game guy this season or whatever. And it still is probably not enough to justify trading the pick, right? And so they're in this really weird spot where, with all of that being said, they have a lot riding on this season because who knows what happens with that pick. If they continue on this current trajectory, And obviously, you need the ping pong balls to fall your way. Look at the Jazz last year where they fell as low as they could fall. That could be a first overall pick. That could be a first overall pick that they are giving to, who is it? Atlanta? That's insane, right? Even if it's not, it could be like a top 5 pick. Like, what are we doing here? That's exactly the type of asset New Orleans needs. That would also, in theory anyway, provide them some cushion if they decided to move on from the Zion experience, because they've got a new guy, very similar to like when they moved on from AD, and it's like, yeah, this sucks, but we got Zion, who I was talking about earlier, was very, very highly touted at the time, right? And so that really, really blows if you're a New Orleans or a New Orleans fan. And on the Pelicans, a lot of their guys have underperformed this season, frankly, across the board, which is how you get to an 0-6 start. You got guys in and out, etc., but there's a lot of different factors. On Zion, he's mostly statistically been himself. The finishing around the basket hasn't been there. The three-point shooting, I don't think he's even taken one. He's not a great shooter in the first place, but you have to at least take one or two to keep the defense honest. Otherwise, they're just going to sit in the paint. And all of a sudden, you've got yourself a Zion Williamson, Ben Simmons situation here. That may be a blasphemous comparison in 2025, depending on how you feel about Zion anyway. But if comparing, early Ben Simmons to current Zion, that's not at all blasphemous. There was a really Ben is still solid, I'll say, as like just a connecting player, small ball, 5 in today's NBA, but he's not anything like what he was expected to be, of course. But if you are saying that you are having to have Zion play in a similar environment to that, where guys are just like hanging back 20 feet off him, then that's not tenable. You can't have that. So I think for him, he's got to be willing to take that shot. And with that being said, I think it's impacted his finishing as well, but he's still giving you 24, 25 points. So what can you do, I guess? But other than that, though, they've got guys being inefficient, shooting below their overall numbers across the board for the most part. So there's just kind of a lot of factors here for them. So hopefully at some point they figure it out, but this may not be the year for that. Now, moving on from the Pelicans and just that portion of it, we have a quick word. Don't go anywhere, but we're going to talk about the draft pick situation because I think that's pretty interesting. Like I said, they did trade out that draft pick, but there's a couple of other things happening as well. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed, so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin.
Normally I would like to try to, whenever I say things like the Zion Ben thing, I typically like to try to throw a bunch of qualifiers out there because I know what the rebuttal will be. And so I'm not even going to bother this time. So if somebody got triggered by that, I'm not even going to fight you, man. I'm not going to do it. Normally I preemptively, maybe you've noticed this in videos. I will preemptively throw out, there could be this, it could be that. And I like, sometimes people get mad at me because they say I'm fence sitting, but hey, I'm very, when you've done YouTube for as long as I have, which is like 11 years, you just get used to it. So anyway, moving on. On the draft pick thing. So like I said, that could be a top pick going to Atlanta. Well, if you remember, I talked about Atlanta a couple of days ago, and they've also got an outward draft pick. It's kind of funny how this all lines up because all the pick trading, right? So Atlanta's got this pick that's going out to San Antonio. So San Antonio will receive the more favorable of its 2026 first-round pick and Atlanta's 2026 first-round pick. Utah will receive the most favorable of its 2026 first-round pick, protected for selections, blah, 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 blah. Basically, San Antonio gets to choose. They get the more favorable pick. And San Antonio looks like they're going to be good this year. Atlanta could still wind up in a similar range just because they're in the Eastern Conference. There's some question marks about Trae Young in terms of like what's going to happen with him in the future. Yes, but like his health, of course, he's not in with them for like the next month. So who knows? Maybe they go 500 in that stretch, and that in the East isn't the worst record. So who knows? So it could be in the similar range, but because of all the pick trading, Atlanta are going to get this pick from New Orleans for sure. For sure, it's going to happen. And then Atlanta will be sending their own pick out to San Antonio. So there could be a situation where these are all lottery picks, and these teams, San Antonio Spurs are rooting for the downfall of Atlanta. Atlanta's rooting for the downfall of New Orleans. I got to go dig through New Orleans. They're probably rooting for the downfall of somebody else who's rooting for the downfall of somebody else who's rooting for the we could just keep going because all the pick trading, man. So I thought that was an interesting little wrinkle to all of this, but still, I think the most valuable one, especially right now, is that pick that Atlanta has coming in as opposed to going out. The one from New Orleans, that may be the single most valuable draft pick on the market, or that was acquired recently on the market anyway in the NBA. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. By the way, if you want to see more jaw coverage, like I said, we got a lot. Just go to the channel page or click the video on the screen right now.